So let us talk a little bit about vegetation. What different types of vegetation do you get on Earth and where? Okay. It all goes back to Alexander from Humboldt. And it's about vegetation zones. Scientists divide the Earth's land into what are called vegetation zones that have distinct types of flora and fauna. Okay, there has a long history in biogeography, and its roots are usually traced to Alexander from Humboldt. Okay, who devised the method of mapping isothermals, lines of equal temperature, and observed patterns of change in the distribution of organisms across isothermal gradients. And isothermal relates to temperature, and that's again the link back to the climate, okay? Or by the influence of temperature on the biology. Okay? And you get different vegetation zones. Okay, and they are listed here. Okay? Vegetation zones are also called biomes, referring to the largest geographic biotic unit, a major community of plants and animals with similar life forms and environmental conditions. Noting that some land animals migrate between different vegetation zones. So that's where the word biomes comes into play. So we can think of different vegetation zones, and let's go through that list here. So we're talking about forest areas, forest vegetation zones, areas with trees grouped in a way that their leaves shade the ground. Rainforest, coniferous and temperate deciduous forests. Okay, with shrubland areas dominated by shrubs. Grassland, flat and open areas where grasses are the dominant type of vegetation. Tundra, vegetation limited to a few shrubs, grasses, and mosses. Tree line separates alpine tundra from forest vegetation. Okay, the tree line, that's some a little bit of general knowledge for you. And the Arctic tundra features permafrost, soil that is permanently frozen, and that will be featured indeed in later lectures as well. Okay, we're having deserts, almost no rainfall and highly specialized vegetation. We have large ice sheets like the Greenland and Antarctica ice sheets, no vegetation at all. Okay, and I decided to just do a little brief summary of these different vegetation zones, just showing you some pictures. I think you should have done that at school and so, but anyway, just to give you an idea of the different zones and where you can find these zones. And we're talking about rainforests. Okay. Rainforest. There's some images here. Okay. There are tropical and there are temperate rainforests, and we will be defining the different zones in the next lecture. What do we mean by tropical and what do we mean by temperate and stuff like that. Okay? The rainforests contain more than half of the world's biodiversity. It's the range of species that you have. Okay? Climate is characterized by excessive rainfall, warm all year, and frost-free. Average daily temperatures range from 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, and you'd all know about the problem with deforestation. Let's just show you one image here. And the top shows you the geographical distribution. Again, you can see the near equatorial tropic regions here in this area. I also give you the link if you want to learn a little bit more. Here at the bottom, I show you the link to this information. Okay, some beautiful maps showing you the distribution of different vegetation zones. So what's the next vegetation zone? The temperate deciduous forests. Okay, broadleaf trees, oaks, maples, beeches, shrubs, perennial herbs, and mosses. Okay, exposed to warm and cold air masses, which cause this area to have 4 distinct seasons. Okay, and that's the key here: 4 distinct seasons. Warm and cold, and that gives rise to that special type of temperate forests. And you can see again the distribution, mainly in mid-latitude northern hemisphere. Okay, you find this type of vegetation zone. All right, the coniferous forest. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. All right, you can see the distribution at the top. It's more in the higher latitude subpolar regions. You get these type of forests. Okay, and they rely on having cold, long, snowy winters and warm, humid summers, well-defined seasons, at least 4 to 6 frost-free months. This is what's required, and you see the extent of this area. Okay, shrubland. Look at the distribution of shrubland here in the subtropical regions of Africa and in northern Australia, and we also get them here in South America. Shrublands are made of, well, you might have guessed it, shrubs and short trees. Look at that type of vegetation there. Gets more rain than deserts and grasslands, but less than forested areas. You can see that what rainfall does to regions. If you have not enough rainfall, you get stuff like this. And rain in those regions is unpredictable, varying from month to month. And there is a noticeable dry season and a wet season in these areas. Okay, shrubland. Okay, we come to grassland. Okay, well, you might have guessed it, grassland. You have grasses. They receive slightly more rain than deserts. Okay, tropical grasslands have dry and wet seasons that remain warm all the time. Temperate grasslands have cold winters and warm summers with some rain. And you can see the distribution again. And we're talking about areas which are at least 500 kilometers in extent, 500 by 500 kilometers. So these are large units, different vegetation zones. So is there one more? Do we have one more? Or we actually have 2 more. Is the tundra or tundra. Almost no trees due to short growing season and permafrost. Okay? Tundra comes from the Finnish word turia, meaning treeless plain. Okay, and that's how it looks like. Okay, very fascinating. And we come to the desert. Okay, and showing you the distribution of deserts, including Australia, and Africa, in Asia, and in North America. Here in that region. Okay, very warm, least amount of rain. Cacti, small bushes, short grasses, perennials survive for several years by becoming dormant and flourishing when water becomes available. So very fascinating ecology. Okay, in these areas. Alrighty, so we can put it all together on one map. Okay, and you can look at all these areas and the distribution, okay, and on this map. And this vegetation is the result of the distribution of temperature, air temperature, and precipitation on Earth. Okay, it has developed over hundreds of thousands of years, and if you change the atmospheric conditions, Okay, if you change the rainfall pattern, there will be an adjustment of the vegetation. Okay, but you learn later on that humans have a much more devastating impact on vegetation through direct, through deforestation and other things. It's long before the climate change can do anything, and we talk about that later on. Okay, so this is the end of part 2, and it's good if you have a look at this webpage and study and learn about these different vegetation zones. There on the webpage there's a little bit more information on rainfall and air temperature variations. All right.